Hello, dear students and colleagues. Are you starting work on the course? Accounting in the United Kingdom. First of all, I would like to introduce myself to you. My name is Larisa Brovchuk. I am the author of this course. In addition, I am the owner of companies that specialize in accounting and provide outsourced accounting services. A wide variety of organizations of different types in both Ukraine and the UK. Everything I will share with you in this course is based on real experience and practical situations. I would like to tell you a little about our working methodology. Our work is organised as follows. You download the methodological materials. In the methodological materials, you will find the lecture texts, as well as the assignment texts. Next, you work with the platform. Each lesson includes video materials, which you review after reading the lecture. You are also required to complete the homework assignments. Under each video, there are also forms for submitting homework assignments, as well as examples of completed homework. You send them to us. For review, they will be stored in your personal file and will serve as evidence that you have actively engaged with the course. In addition to submitting your completed homework assignments to us, you also check them using tests. After each lesson that includes homework, there is a test to assess your completion of the assignments. If you do not pass the test, you cannot proceed to the next lesson. Therefore, you will need to go back, review the mistakes you made, and complete the test correctly. There is no limit to the number of times you can take these tests, and you are free to retake them until you succeed. You also have the option to work ahead and complete lessons in advance. For example, if someone has Zoom sessions but sees that at certain times you may be able to work more, and later you might have plans, such as going on vacation or work commitments, where you won't have time. In that case, you can mark the Zoom lesson as completed and move on to the next material, studying ahead whenever you have the opportunity. However, when you join a Zoom lesson, we will review and reinforce the topic that is specifically covered in that particular Zoom session. During Zoom lessons, I answer all your questions, and we also check how you have worked through the material covered over the week. Therefore, please focus on working through the material. The excuse "I didn't have time" or "I couldn't" will only lower your level of knowledge during the Zoom session. I am already checking and explaining specific points and particular situations during the Zoom. If you haven't completed the basic lessons and you lack the necessary knowledge and skills, then there is no point in attending the Zoom session. You will be bored, you won't pass the tests, and there will be no benefit from it at all. So I kindly ask it. Go through the material before the Zoom session. If you find yourself falling significantly behind in the course, please ask the administrator to transfer you to the next group. You will then complete this course with the next group. New groups are formed continuously. It is important here that you receive high-quality knowledge, because you will go on to work, and there you will be responsible for other people's money and taxes. Simply listening to the material and checking off a box is not the result we're aiming for together. Also, do not be discouraged if you do not end up using this course specifically as an accountant. Many of our graduates they complete the courses and later use the knowledge and understanding of taxes to manage their own entrepreneurial activities. In other ways, you will be able to apply this knowledge in a different field. This will also serve as a test for you. It will help you determine whether you can work as an accountant or not. Why? The course is very intensive. It requires you to work on tasks immediately, day by day. So if you put things off, like, "Oh, I'll do this lesson tomorrow," then tomorrow you probably won't do it either. And as a result, you won't gain this knowledge. In other words, an accountant needs to have specific skills and qualities. They are required to perform their duties on a daily basis in order to ultimately submit the company's financial or tax reports, and to do so with quality. If you don't have this skill and can't motivate yourself to work systematically, you'll quickly notice during the course that perhaps this profession isn't quite right for you. Because these are real conditions, and this is exactly what you'll encounter in your job. You constantly need to read something new, to learn something new. It's not the case that you learn something today and then use all that knowledge unchanged for the next 10 years. Things do not stay the same. No, in accounting, it doesn't work that way. So, of course, a big advantage of our profession is that, as they say, Alzheimer's is not a threat to us. We are constantly learning and continually acquiring new knowledge. According to the Code of Ethics, it is the duty of an accountant in Britain to keep their knowledge up to date in line with current legislation. If you don't do this, then you will quickly lose your qualification. That is why we teach you this. We teach you to verify the knowledge you receive. We teach you to check both yourself and others. We teach you to develop practical work algorithms, how to do things faster, how to make tasks easier, where you can do something for free, and where you need to use paid programs. In other words, I explain and demonstrate all of this, and you will be able to navigate all of it. Don't worry if you decide that accounting is not for you. This knowledge is fundamental in life. And with this knowledge, you can apply it in any field, because accountants and accounting expertise are needed everywhere. Whether you run your own business and need to understand taxes and finances, or you work as a financial specialist, or you even as an auditor who will be checking accountants. Or, for example, if you work as a manager in commerce or sales, you also need to understand documentation and tax implications. In other words, accounting is present everywhere, in every area. And you definitely won't be carrying this knowledge as a burden. Next, you have many references to regulatory acts. Why are they needed? The reason is that our course, like any other, is regularly updated, but legislation can change. For example, today you are studying under one set of laws, but then the minimum wage thresholds, national insurance contributions, or other tax boundaries may change. For instance, the VAT threshold has already increased. It used to be 85,000, now it is 90. You need to regularly review all this information as part of your ongoing work. That is why I am providing you with these links, because methodological materials will eventually become outdated, and you must rely on up-to-date information in your work. That's why you should save each link provided under the lesson in a separate file. Create a table for yourself in Word, Excel, or wherever's convenient for you. What kind of table? Organize it by tax names and save all the links I provide you. Why? Because in your work, you will always be able to easily find the information you need, and it will all be organized in one file. Additionally, your methodological guidelines include extra tables and questionnaires for clients, as well as an income and expense report for entrepreneurs. Online. You should always save the documents in your personal folder, and you will use them in your accounting practice or at your future workplace. This is very important. Moreover, our course has a little twist. The thing is, after many years of teaching, I've noticed a very important pattern. People learn from mistakes and remember material when they are corrected. That's why in many of my courses and lessons, I intentionally make deliberate mistakes, and your task is to find such a mistake. Why is this necessary? When you have doubts about a certain issue in your future work, you will look for many different sources. You will review the opinions of different experts, read various articles, but ultimately, you are the one who must make the decision, because you will be responsible for it when a tax audit comes to your clients. When a client says that you did something wrong, you must have well-founded evidence to support why you acted the way you did. This is exactly what I am teaching you. No matter how much of an expert you are, you can and should consult with colleagues from different fields, but you must make decisions based on everything you've heard, relying solely on legislative acts. If you have found confirmation there that this is indeed the case, then you have a well-founded answer. Why can any specialist make mistakes in reality? Any specialist can. You know this from working with the Ukrainian tax authorities. Very often, clarifications are issued that contradict the legislation. Moreover, these clarifications are provided by the Ministry of Finance or the tax authorities. It's the same in Britain. In Britain, we operate under common law precedent. That is, we have the law, and to apply it correctly, we interpret it based on other court decisions in similar cases. That's why the gov.uk website also has a whole collection of court decisions. You can find what you need on any issue. There is also the option to consult with the tax authorities. If your question is not clear to you, in your practice you will always encounter issues that you will not know exactly why. There are thousands of situations and a multitude of different areas of work. And in every area, there will inevitably be a situation you have not encountered before. In my course, I teach you how to search for information and make your own decisions. Additionally, to identify your client's mistakes. Why? In Britain, an accountant works with the data provided by the client. If you simply take them at face value, you will then be held responsible for processing incorrect or improperly prepared documents, or for failing to check a risky transaction, which could result in significant fines for your practice, if not imprisonment. That's why it is absolutely essential to be extremely vigilant and attentive. Check the documents thoroughly, and it is precisely this vigilance that we are developing together in this course. Because you can teach a monkey to follow an algorithm, but only a human can truly think. That's why we'll be learning to become true professionals, analysts, and we will be developing our critical thinking skills. One more important thing. In our course, you will also encounter additional lectures focused on motivation and work organisation, for which I invite a psychologist to participate. I also provide you with additional comprehensive educational books for in-depth study, which are specifically used to meticulously train all my dedicated employees across all our various enterprises and diverse business units. What do these involve? We learn how to communicate with clients effectively. We learn to understand ourselves, to set the right priorities at work, and essentially to conduct meaningful dialogues with people, skills that will serve as additional advantages in your future profession. After all, there are numerous studies showing that even highly skilled professionals, truly outstanding ones, sometimes cannot find a job despite all their achievements and certificates. Why is that? It's simply because they are difficult, conflict-prone individuals. They don't know how to work in a team, they lack even a drop of empathy, and they don't understand their colleagues. And as a result, they receive numerous job rejections. These qualities can be developed and improved. In fact, every person possesses them. It's just that in the pursuit of our professional lives, we sometimes lose sight of these basic human qualities. That's why these books are so important. They will help you build lasting relationships with your clients in the future. First and foremost, with your own team, especially if you plan to build your own practice. And of course, if you intend to join our partnership program in the future, which you'll hear about during the first Zoom lesson, you absolutely need to work through these books as we specifically check your engagement with them. That's why, dear colleagues, I am investing all my energy into you, providing you with the most practical skills that you will apply in your professional activities. I hope that we will continue to collaborate for many years to come, or simply maintain a friendship, communicate on work-related matters, or work together with us. It doesn't matter. The goal of my course, my training, is to help you become true professionals. I do not intend to raise competitors. My aim is to nurture you into worthy colleagues, people with whom we can communicate as equals. And believe me, that's when life gets better, because you can debate or prove something to a person who truly understands you. But someone who is unable to understand or lacks sufficient knowledge simply won't grasp your point. And no matter what arguments you present, they will either do things their own way or refuse to accept your point of view, turning the whole situation into a conflict. That is why I do this. The goal of my work is to nurture professionals who will provide high quality accounting services to clients all over the world, not just in Britain and Ukraine. I always respond on Telegram and WhatsApp, so feel free to write to me. We can have a conversation if you have ideas for growth, if you have ideas for collaboration, or if you would like to discuss them. For example, opening a branch in any country in the world. I am always open to collaboration and always consider all proposals because this is the path to growth.